Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Sake, episode 103. I'm your host, Justin D. Simone, joined by my co-host. He got rich off the stonks, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Surprised you didn't see my I thought you were gonna call me something else.
Oh, what?
I'm surprised you didn't see my it was on Twitter. I put it up at like 4 or 5 or about 3 or 4 o'clock. I don't think you saw it. So I put a story up, or just a short story. How I used to date a girl, and she was very into anime and stuff like that. I know it's one everyone thinking it's not her, it's another one. But anyway, so I used to date her. I dated her for like maybe 2 or 3 months. That was very short.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we were like hanging out one time, and she called me fucking senpai, and I was like,
oh no.
I was like, oh my god, I've never been so turned off before in my life.
Oh, I should have called you senpai. Is that what you thought I was going to call you?
So no, this is where the stories go, right? So
Okay.
it was bad, bro. Like even like when we try to get intimate and I touch her or whatever, she would squeak like a little anime girl. It's like,
oh no. Instant turn off, dude. Like, no, thank you. I
literally wanted to punch her in the face. Like it was so bad.
I know. I can imagine. Yeah.
So one of my friends texted me, was like, "Oh, Montrell Coon," and I'm like, they said Montrell Coon. Montrell Coon. I was just like, you know what? Block.
No.
The people were like calling me Monty Coon and all that stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Monty Coon. That's a good one. Yeah.
So yeah, like that was my day. It's people were bashing me. I mean, I don't care. It was funny to me. I was laughing it off. But
hey, man, some people are into that shit. More power to them, you know. Like,
I mean, I know we shouldn't kink shame, but I'm gonna kink shame anyway. That is, it's just it's not my thing.
No, it's not my thing either. I mean, I don't give a shit. Do what you want, but you know,
I'm very liberal with that shit. But yeah, I'll pass on it.
Right, like I've said before, playing Persona 5 sometimes makes me very uncomfortable because there's really, really questionable relationships in that game. So, you know,
I heard
about
your pod last week. So
did you listen? Funny. Oh man, yeah. See how dedicated he is. Look at this guy, man. You know. Well, Montrell, have you gotten rich off the stonks? You know,
I didn't get rich. I made like 500 off of it, and then today they held $150 on Red. Why was it called Red Hood on Robin Hood?
They held like 100. Well Red Hood.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. They just gave me my $150 today, though. They held it since like last Wednesday. It was fucking insane. Mm-hmm. And also, GameStop stock has tanked all the way to like $100.
Yeah, so let's talk about this real quick because I did not mention this at all last week. I kind of wanted to talk about it with you. So, you know, for those of you who haven't been paying attention, I'm sure you all know, though, GameStop stock has been like the hot commodity for like 2 weeks, I'd say. It really blew up last week. But it went up to about at its peak for a very brief moment was at about $500 a share. And then it really settled around 300 to 350 for most of last week. And then today, this is Tuesday, 2/2, February 2nd, it has tanked. And after hours right now, it is down to, I think, $85 or something like that per share. And it's starting to look like this is over. I'm not a stock expert, so a lot of people still think it could explode again tomorrow, but you know.
Well, the only way you can buy it so far now is you have to be a stockbroker, or you have to have a stockbroker buy it for you, which a lot of people don't have. Mm-hmm. Or you can do GameStop, or you can do the Robinhood apps, or Rebull or things of that nature. But all the apps so far that I've noticed, I don't know about Acorn and I don't know about E-Trade. I know E-Trade and Acorn, to get an account, you need at least $1,000 in your account to do that. So they may not have limited it because they're a little bit more advanced than the Robinhood apps.
Yes.
But you can only buy 10 shares of stock, or 10 shares of GameStop. They limited
which is
it.
nothing. That's not very
Yeah,
much.
which is not anything. Normally, I do that. I will buy 10 shares. That's how
I
I
mean,
had
yeah,
so much.
we're low. We're low volume. We don't have the money to be high volume traders. So
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
So when it was starting to blow up, I already had $50 worth of stock, which at the time when I bought it, it was $4.35 per stock. So I bought 10 of them, and I had $50 worth in there, or around $40 or $50 in there, whatever, give or take. Started to go up. It went up to like maybe $10. So
Yeah.
then once it went up to $10, I went and just went ahead and was like, you know what, I have an extra spare $100 to throw in there, just out of my like daily
Mhm.
spending or whatever that
Okay.
I set aside for myself. I was going to use it to buy a video game, but I used that to buy the stock. So then I had 20 shares, and I didn't buy any more after that.
Man.
And holy shit. When it hit 250, I sold at
Okay.
250.
Yeah.
A lot of people still held on. I sold at 250. I held other stock. I had stock in Nokia,
Mhm.
and this other one called Naked, and I held it just to prove a point to the stock people or whatever, that they can't fucking fuck us over or whatever. But I don't know if it did anything. I don't know if the point got across. Some people like I think you said the guy on Reddit when we were at that barbecue or whatever. He
Mhm.
had around like $30,000 worth of stock, and he held it just for the point of it.
Dude, he still has it. He has 50,000 shares, and then I think he has 500 options of stock in GameStop, and he has not sold. Now he did make like 13 or 14 million last week selling some of his options because they
Mm-hmm.
expired. So he's already made some money, so he may just be holding for the long haul, regardless of where this goes. And just kind of seeing how this plays out. But he keeps posting his portfolio with GameStop on the Reddit, the Wall Street Bets Reddit, every day. And yeah, today he was down to, I think it was worth like 10 million, his shares at
Okay.
this point. So, I mean, he could still cash out for a huge amount of money, obviously. But so, I mean, to take everybody through a little bit of the timeline here, like, so on Thursday last week, January, I don't remember, January 28th or 29th, Robinhood and a few other brokers started restricting trades of GameStop, but they only restricted trades for retail investors, which are individuals, people like me and Montrell and yourself listening to this. We would be considered retail investors. They started restricting trades once the stock price hit 300, and they restricted to what Montrell said. At first, actually, they blocked trading entirely. You couldn't even buy. You could only sell. And then they changed it to you could buy 5 stocks, but you can only buy them if you didn't have any already. And then they changed it, I think, to 10 at some point. The restrictions may lift soon, anyways, because the price of the stock is plummeting. But honestly, what ended up happening was, so to start off, there was a massive short investment in GameStop because GameStop stock price was really low. So a hedge fund came in and decided to do to short 140% of GameStop stock, which means they were shorting stocks that literally didn't exist because 140% is more than what exists. So they shorted them that much of the stock, and Reddit somehow kind of caught wind of this, and it became this huge thing over last week where tons of people started buying GameStop stock, and the stock price exploded as a result. And because when you short a stock, you're betting that it's going to go down in price, and if it doesn't, you have to pay the difference of from what you bought it at to what it is, and you have to pay that difference. So you can end up bankrupting yourself to the point where you need to liquidate everything you have, and and eventually, if you can't pay it, then your broker that you are doing the trades through has to pay the difference. So that's what ended up happening, is that Robinhood is not liquid enough to cover something like that, which is why they started restricting trades,
Mm.
because it would have completely put them out of business. Which, I mean, honestly, some of the shit they pulled this week, they may end up going out of business anyways. Because I think a lot of people are going to be quitting that app after this
Yeah.
is all over,
Yep.
for good reason. It really exposed some things about the market and some of these brokers, in general. But So we're at the point now where it seems to be going down. It really tanked hard today. It went from 225, I think, to under 100 by the end of the day. And we'll see if it rallies tomorrow. But I'm out of this game. I never invested at all. Me and Montreal actually talked about investing in GameStop back in like March before the pandemic started. And I idiotically never did it. And I've been kicking myself because I was gonna if I was gonna do it, if I was gonna do it, I was gonna go like $250 or $500 worth, which would have been like 100 shares, and at $300 a share, that would have been like 30 grand, So I'm pretty upset with myself over the whole situation, but I've kind of gotten over it now at this point. Whatever, I missed the opportunity. It is what it is. So I never got in. Montreal got in a little bit. And you made that little penny, man. Congratulations. Yep. But Montreal, is there anything you want to, I guess, say to the people about this beyond just the situation itself and all that, or you want to just?
I think people should start investing. I don't know what they're gonna do with the rules now that that buy low, sell high thing has been exposed. But I think more people should start investing. It's actually super easy. This made me understand the stock market a lot more.
Same. Yeah. I started getting into it too. I actually put like $250 into an account I have and started playing around. I did buy AMC and I fucked it up because I put an order in over the weekend to buy on Monday, and I ended up getting fucked because it bought when the stock was at its highest point. So now I'm just like, fuck it. So it's nothing. It's nothing big.
Yeah, you just gotta watch the trends.
Whatever. Yeah. It's not like a big deal. It's not hurting me financially. It's just a couple $100, but So the thing is, though, I like AMC as a long-term stock, anyways. I do think once people are able to go out again,
their stock is going to jump up. Yeah.
They could bounce back pretty well. So we'll see. We'll see with them. I'm whatever. But I'm with you. I think I'm obviously a lot was exposed with this. This was a huge kind of meme movement almost, and people were really behind this. It was Wall Street bets versus the hedge funds. It was a big thing, and I support the little guy fucking taking it to these hedge funds because they are honestly shit. But
what's interesting about this is how the government moved in on it, and I didn't really like that. That really turned me off. About I don't know, it's supposed to be the free market, so let the market be free. And if an app can't, or some people who start up this app can't support it, then unfortunately, I don't know what to tell you. They have to crash.
Right, that's the market. That's the market correcting itself.
Exactly.
if you go belly up because you don't have the capital to afford something like this, then you probably shouldn't be a broker then. Like, sorry.
Exactly.
Like that's on them, I mean, that's the market, but that's the problem, is that the rules are such that these companies are backed by very powerful players who don't want them to go out of business. So they kind of get bailed out behind the scenes and,
Yeah, and what really made me mad was like, people were like, well, you don't understand the consequences behind this. This can have serious repercussions. And it's like, yeah, we understand that. We understand that this may crash us and put us in a Great Depression. But it's like you allowed this to happen because of the rules that you had set up, and you weren't expecting anyone to use the rules against you.
Also,
and the fucking billionaire crying on TV, like, come on, man, like.
I've never seen anything funnier than that. I still can't stop laughing about that. This shit was funny. But, dude, those people are really precious, though. And I think a lot of the media has been exposed throughout this whole thing because they are in the tank for these rich motherfuckers. It is so obvious. It's ridiculous. Like, they were pushing stories about silver yesterday when nobody on Reddit was talking about investing in silver. And they were out there saying, oh, they've moved on to silver. They're not doing GameStop anymore. And it was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, they're just trying to push this narrative to, like, get these, like, boomers and people who don't pay attention to the Reddit to, like, fucking move off GameStop or whatever. It's so obvious that they're, like, in the pocket of the rich folks. But it's really precious to me, though, when we bring this up when the little guy's the one making a shitload of money. that, this could
Exactly.
have an adverse effect on the market. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know what else might have an adverse effect on the market? Somebody fucking shorting a company into oblivion and bankrupting them and fucking losing thousands of people jobs, like, I don't know, maybe that's a problem too. We didn't talk about that, but all of a sudden a few little guys on Reddit are making a little bit too much money, so it's bad for the market. Like, fucking fuck off. Like, that shit pissed me off more than anything. Is that became the conversation? Like what? Come on, guys.
That pissed me off a
So
lot.
overt.
And like, I just like how it was like the media was on the people's side when Trump was in office, right?
Yeah.
So they were on their side, they were on the people's side, quote unquote. And then insurrection happened and all this other shit. And then billionaires start getting fucked over by this GameStop debacle. And then they make a concerted effort to label, they use PC culture against everyone or against Reddit, and it was like, oh, Wall Street bets. We did some searching, and they're racist and sexist. Did you see this? And it's like, when I saw that Vice article, I immediately blocked Vice. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I had them muted before, but I blocked them, and it was because they do stuff like that, and I just didn't get it. I didn't understand why they were doing that. Vice is supposed to be like a media outlet for the people or whatever. They kind of label themselves that way, but then you're writing articles or attack pieces against Reddit to make them look bad, and saying that they're racist and xenophobic and all this other shit like that. When the Reddit is nothing but degenerates doing fucking penny stocks. That's literally what that Wall Street bet is. Like,
and then like Discord banning the Wall Street bets Discord last week. Like, what a bunch of cowards, dude, because they cited there was like inflammatory comments, racist comments, hate speech and stuff inside the Discord, and it was like,
that's in every Discord.
Also, it's in every Discord, and B, it was being generated by bots. Like, bots were coming in and saying horrible shit,
Wow.
So it's like, I don't know. So the one thing for me that I really hope everybody takes out of this, though, is that this really exposed how stacked the game is against all of us, is that it is really difficult for us to make change happen, but we can do it together in unity, like, we have that power if we band together, and that, and this really also exposed how much those in power, the rich, they don't want us to be playing around in the stock market. They don't want us to get rich. They don't want us to make money off this. They want us to be stupid, and they want us to not know what the hell's going on. Because you saw all this shit happening around, like, in the media, all these people getting on like CNBC and these interviews and shit, and they're literally saying like, they're saying that these people shouldn't be allowed to trade. Like, these people on Wall Street's bets shouldn't be allowed to trade. They're manipulating the market. And it's like, you guys manipulate the market every day. You do this all the time. You just do it behind closed doors. These people are out in the open, literally talking about it on a forum, but that's a problem all of a sudden. It's like, so yeah, for me, that's the thing, is that I think a lot of this stuff is a lot of the things that we yell at each other about on Twitter every day. It is a distraction that the upper class is very happy to let us kill each other for, so that the spotlight is taken off them, and the classism in America is a real thing. It's a very real thing, and it affects all of us down lower in the middle and lower classes. And we're not going to change it unless we make concerted efforts to do things like this, and to talk to our representatives and elect people locally that will actually help us. Don't elect Ted Cruz, but somehow he still keeps getting elected. So I don't know. That's my piece on it. Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about it. I mean, that was outright class warfare. Like, it was legitimately.
Yeah.
And I hope a lot of people take that and see it and do what they will with it. We just had the little insurrection a couple weeks ago, and now now that that's died down, like I don't know, the classism started it, and I'm like, this is. I mean, it's been started, but now it was just so overtly in your face that I
Yep.
couldn't. I couldn't not talk. I could not talk about it.
It was
It was just.
undeniable.
Yeah, man. It was just. I don't know. And a lot of people would say like, well, you guys don't understand what you saw. You know, you're pretty ignorant of the stock market. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
pretty ignorant apart as far as Wall Street, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, shutting down apps and I don't know, just let the free market be free. Because say for instance, I own a little mom and pop shop down the street, and my shop just goes belly up. I can't look at the government to fucking help me out. You know what I'm saying? So why should you help?
I
Fucking
don't have another hedge fund that's going to come save me.
yeah, exactly.
You know, like, yeah, because that's what happened here. I want to say about the bailouts. There were people were talking about bailouts. It wasn't government bailouts that were going to happen. It was other hedge funds coming in bailing out these hedge funds that were getting fucked.
Okay,
So that
okay.
was the reality of the situation. It wasn't, the government was never going to really get involved here. If they did, I think we would see another riot to the Capitol in a different way. So, because that would be completely absurd. But yeah, I mean, I don't know the stock market either. I'll fully admit that. Like, I'm ignorant to this too. I'm new at this stuff. But again, though, we're not stupid. Like, when every media outlet is selling you the same story and they're all pivoting at the same time, saying the same thing, having guests on that are all saying the same thing, it's kind of hard to deny that there's something going on there,
Yeah,
So, they're trying to push a message, all of them at the same time. They're pushing a narrative. And when somebody comes in, and says something different, they're kind of yelled down. So, that's familiar. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about that briefly. It's not actually game related, but it does involve GameStop. So weirdly, tangentially, is kind of gaming related in some strange way. It is funny that GameStop's the one that was the catalyst for all this, but very 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 funny. It's funny and serious at the same time. I've enjoyed this more than I've enjoyed pretty much anything in the last few years happening online. So
I
um,
do have a question. I do
yeah.
wonder though, or not really a question, but I wonder if it wasn't GameStop, if it was say it was AMC, right? That
Mhm.
has no association with video games. Um, I think the memes. I think the media still would have went after it, but not as hard. I think since this was GameStop and it was quote unquote, they thought it was quote unquote all gamers doing this. I think that's why they went at it so hard because there is a bias against gamers in the media.
Well,
So
they know that their boomer viewers don't like us, so
yeah,
that's an easy sell, Oh, the evil gamers are trying to take down the stock market, Um, even though it had nothing to do with gamers, really.
exactly.
I mean, there were dude, there wasn't didn't you see that article that was trying to link it to like Gamergate or something?
Oh my god, yeah, I
What
completely
the
forgot
fuck?
about that.
What a
Yeah,
fucking facepalm moment, dude. Like, so, it just, the grasping at straws at this point is just, it's pretty crazy. So, okay, we'll leave that there.
yep.
We'll get to the show proper. So, this is a video game show. It's our weekly show. We talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Also, we want your questions. Okay. So, like I said last week, in moments like last week where only one of us can record for some reason or another, that would be a great time to have questions to answer from the audience. So please send those to the playerstake01 at gmail.com or at the players take on Twitter. We would love to have them even for regular shows like this where we can kind of fill them in with certain news stories. If you guys send it to us on any topic, gaming related that you think might be on the show, or even if it might not be on the show. It's something, if it's a good question, it could provoke some discussion that we wouldn't normally have. So we would really love that. So please do that and let us get on to the normal show. Let's start, like we always do, with what we've been playing. Montrell, it's been 2 weeks since you've talked to the people. Actually, 3 weeks, right? I think
No,
the
it's been
last
two
show you
weeks.
did was anticipated games, wasn't it? Am I thinking about that wrong?
only been a week.
Oh, yeah, no, dude, yeah, the last show you were on was the anticipated game, so it's actually been 3 weeks since you've told the people what you've been playing.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
what have you been playing, man? What are you up to? You just playing
Uh,
League?
I was playing League. I was playing a little bit Apex Legends back then. I need to get back into. I don't know why, but last week a lot of crazy shit happened.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually started playing Resident Evil 7. I'm
Okay.
almost through with that.
Had you ever played it before?
No, that was my first time playing. It was free on for the PlayStation 5 people. It was free. That privilege. Uh, but,
Well, how did you like it, man? How do you like it?
so my thoughts on it were I went into it trying to be open minded, and I actually liked the game. So my whole thing was I thought the first person aspect took away from Resident Evil. So once you actually play it, it's one of those games you can't watch. You have to play it. When you watch it on stream, because I watch like a lot of this gameplay and everything of this nature, just so I can get accurate reading on what it is. I can't describe it to you. I don't know how to describe it like a game in your aspect where I can say like if it took a it's the same game but in a different perspective. It is Resident Evil. It's very Resident Evil through and through. You do puzzles, you backtrack, uh you have to conserve ammo and things of that nature. It's just in first person. That's literally and that first person aspect does add a level of difficulty and creepiness because you can't see around corners and stuff like that. You just whatever's in front of you, that's what it is. Um, also, I like the family that you do fight and things of that nature. They
Mhm,
follow like each boss, so each it's like different tiers to the game, or not tiers, but stages to the game rather. You don't go to different stages; you're just at different points of the game. You're fighting a different boss. So when you're about to fight one boss, that boss will kind of roam around the house or the yard or whatever you're at until you fight them and kill them. And then the next boss will do the same. They'll roam around at random spots until you get to the point where in the story where you have to kill them and
mhm,
so forth and so on. My biggest complaint with the game was the lack of enemies. The
mm,
only enemies that you do fight are these little you fight bugs, the bosses themselves, from time to time, and these creatures called the molded.
mhm,
But you don't fight any zombies or anybody else like that. And I guess I understand because this was like their first time putting it in that perspective. So everything was on a smaller scale. But I would like to see rather more a variety of enemies, which in Resident Evil 8, when we go to that, they do have a more variety of characters or
mhm,
enemies to fight, which I like. So I'm really looking forward to Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 7 was a good taste of what they can do to the first person. I thought it was gonna be more like PT, but it's like I don't get that PT feel at all from it. I don't get that what's the other game? Outlast feel from it at all. It's still Resident Evil, but just in first person. And I
yeah,
that's why I actually like the game because I thought it was gonna go way that route where like, it's super survive and not fight type deal, but
mhm,
it's a still Resident Evil through and through. Um and with that, I also been playing Nier Automata. So I stopped playing this. Um just because I picked up Resident Evil 7 for some reason. Oh, that's because the little reveal or whatever. So I'm gonna pick this back up soon because I just beat, and I was also playing Resident Evil 2 remake because I wanted to play the B side of Leon's story, which is a more harder difficult, not a more harder difficulty, but they switch a lot of the stuff around as far as zombies are already out and things are already happening, and you just gotta navigate around that. So I just beat that like last night, and I'm about to
mhm,
beat Resident Evil 7 probably tomorrow. But that's pretty
yeah.
much all I've been doing.
How far are you in near?
So near, I completely started over.
Okay,
Um, I just passed the park. Yeah,
okay,
I actually just passed the theme park and I beat the giant robot where you have to go back into the ship or he's in the main little area after you leave the
okay,
park and I just beat him.
okay,
So I think I
mm,
just rested and I gotta go do something else now. I can't remember, but as soon as I get back into it, I'll. Oh, and I fought the twins. I fought the twins
okay. Oh,
in the
for the
underground.
first time? Yeah,
Well, yeah,
okay,
in the underground layer, I fought them.
mhm.
So, uh,
Oh, god, that game is so sick.
yeah.
Ah.
So.
It's so good.
I've been smart and beat them, so
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
Cool. Yeah, I've well, Montrell, since you listen, you heard me say I've quit Genshin Impact. I am now, I think, 2.5 weeks sober. I haven't played in a while. So I'm pretty much off that game at this point. I don't think I'm gonna play it for. I'm just gonna wait like 2 years probably and just go back to it when it has like a shitload of content. Um, that's probably my plan with it at this point. But otherwise, yeah, I've been playing Apex some more. Pretty much, I don't know, every like 3 or 4 days, something like that. I'm jumping on and playing with the boys. Having some fun with that for sure. There is a new season starting today, so that will be fun. And I've also been playing Persona 5 Royal, of course. And man, so I think, what did I say last week? Where was I? I think I just started the 7th Palace. I am now beyond the 7th Palace. I beat it over the weekend. And goddamn, can I just say that 7th Palace is fucking huge? Like, it took
I didn't even get
forever.
that far yet, so this is interesting. So tell me a little bit
Dude,
about it.
it took forever. There's like fucking 15 bosses in that fucking palace,
Are
dude.
you serious?
It's insane. I'm trying to think of the number. I think it's around 10 actually. Like, the actual number's around 10 boss fights. There are some boss fights that have multiple parts that I'm kind of combining into, like, I'm splitting out into multiple boss fights because they really are multiple boss fights. They're different fights. So it's that palace really pushes you to your limit actually. I will be honest, because I'm playing on normal. And the game for the most part is pretty easy, but that was the first palace where I was really like, by the end of it, was like fucking on fumes, dude. I had like no SP left. I was like, I actually had to start using some of my items that I've been hoarding the whole game, and I was like, fuck, man,
Yeah.
So it was a challenging palace. I won't say it's interesting because I'm probably coming off negative here. I don't mean it that way. Like, it was long, and I think by the end of it, I was kind of like, I really want to finish this. But at the same time, it's a really good palace. Like, I really like it. I thought it was well designed, and it was a really cool one too, as the final one for, or not the final one, but one of the final few. I think it was the final one for the original game.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm post Palace 7 now. I'm in the kind of free time period at the end of the original game. So I'm just kind of finishing up some confidants that I can, and I just finished exploring Mementos actually, and that is one part of this game I will say. At first, Mementos was cool early in the game when it was only like a few floors per section or whatever. But man, by the end of the game, dude, oh my god, the final two areas are fucking 13 floors and then 14 floors deep. And it is a slog and a half, man. It took me hours to get through that shit. And that was even not having to fight anything because I was so high level by this point already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one part of the game I think is a little overdone. It's a bit obnoxious at a certain point. So but still pretty cool area. It's just a lot, it's just a lot. It really elongates the game's playtime kind of unnecessarily. So obviously they needed to give you a place outside of palaces to fight things though, so I get the point of it. But at the same time, it does get a little rote at certain points. But yeah, I mean, that's really all I got to say at this point. It's different from last week. I mean, I'm still really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to finishing it. The story really kind of, I think the original game story wraps up in a good way up to this point. I mean, I'm not all the way done with it yet, but I really like what happens with the some of the characters, and specifically the final kind of main villain that you have. I think it does link up pretty well. Like all the kind of pieces of the game come together at the end. I will say the game does kind of, this isn't like a big deal. This is kind of a nitpick, but the story kind of unnecessarily connects everything together in ways that just annoy me. Where it's like, because a couple of the palaces are kind of random, the people you target. They seem that way, and apparently they are connected to the whole plot, even though like they didn't need to be. It's like it's like that Star Wars thing where fucking everything has to be connected to somebody, you know, and it's like you're just kind of making the world feel smaller. It's like I kind of like the idea that they were just random, you know, and the party just kind of randomly chose these people, you know, or stumbled into doing this.
They had
You know,
to do a what's that guy? Nolan, Christopher Nolan. They had to do like everything's connected. Or
yeah.
is that Christopher Nolan who does that, or another fucking director who does that shit?
I think he does. I think he
Okay.
does. It kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. But yeah, so that part of it, you know, it did kind of get on my nerves a little. I was just like, yeah, they just kind of throw it into. It's not even like a big revelation. It's just like thrown in. Like somebody just like throws the information out there and it's like, what the like, come on, fuck. It's unnecessary. But anyways, you know, overall the game's excellent. I'm looking forward to finishing it. Like I said, I never beat Persona 4. So I'm excited to beat Persona 5
Okay.
and see kind of what the end of a Persona game even looks like. You know, because it's such a long journey. You know, I'm over 100 hours at this point. I think I'm at 105 or something like that. And yeah, it's a lot. So it's a worthwhile experience though, every step of the way. Like I think the plot overall pretty much, like I said last week, pretty much has like no holes in it. It's pretty crazy. They did a pretty good job like making sure everything was really like sealed tightly and there weren't any
Okay.
like obvious mistakes. I mean, there are a few things that don't make sense, but you know, you don't have to. You can kind of look past them. You know, they're not big deal. They're not things that are big. So
I will say I did skip a little bit ahead. I'm not there in the story, but like as far as just like watching YouTubes and stuff like that, I was really disappointed in the Morgana arc where you have to just be Morgana. And I didn't like what they did with Ryoji, how he kind of sacrificed himself almost for everyone, and everyone's like, "You're an asshole anyway, so fuck you." And everyone just turns around like just like talks. I'm just like, all right, man, that's cool. I just didn't like that part of the game. It felt very unrealistic.
yeah, I know what you're talking about with Ryuji. Morgana, I don't know what you're talking about with Morgana. I haven't gotten there yet, so shut up.
Okay.
I don't know what you mean, so it's good. But yeah, the Ryuji part, I do know what you're talking about. You know, yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't even like Ryuji, so I didn't care that much. You know, I mean, it was nice. I like the idea that he would, you know, would actually sacrifice himself for everybody. But you know, it I don't know. He's Ryuji. He's just loud. Like I said last week, dude. So much of the game's conflict is because he is a fucking idiot and like cannot shut the fuck up about being a phantom thief. He's literally in the middle of school, just like, oh yeah, what are we doing for the phantom thieves tonight, guys? Oh fuck, you know? There's like students all around, like fucking in the middle of public. They're just like in the middle of Shibuya, and he's like, fuck it, yeah, what the fuck? We're the fucking phantom thieves. Yeah, we're gonna get girls, man. Oh shit, you know? It's like, bro, shut the fuck up. There's like multiple like huge plot moments in the game that hinge on the fact that Ryuji's a fucking moron. And like it's so annoying. Like he's an annoying character to me. But it is what it is. You know, he's part of the game, so but yeah. If you ever beat it, Montrell, I would love to do a spoiler cast and really go into some of these plot points and why I think Ryuji's a fucking idiot more in depth. But so yeah, if you ever get back to it, let me know.
All right.
Okay, let us get to the news. We actually have a lot of news this week. Like, I mean, it's been a little while since we really covered some stuff. So, let us start. This happened last week or 2 weeks ago, something like that. Lucasfilm Games, which we talked about like 3 weeks ago, they had just announced themselves as Lucasfilm Games. They announced a partnership with Ubisoft, and Ubisoft's massive studio, that's the studio that makes the Division games. They are working on a open world Star Wars game. And this studio is actually also working on an Avatar game, Avatar the movie game. So they have 2 projects in the works right now. And one of them is going to be an open world Star Wars game. And it makes me wonder, is this going to be a live service game of some sort of like Division, or is it going to be more like just an open world kind of action experience of some sort? Montreal, what do you think? Where you at with this?
I mean, being Ubisoft, it might be just might be a live action. They might or live action. It might be a live service game. Um, but I don't know. It could be a single player game. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, they have a history of making single player open world games, so it could be like a bounty hunter type game or whatever, or something like that. Or I can see that being the live service where you're just like a class or something like that. Maybe you're an outcast Jedi or a bounty hunter or a smuggler or something of that nature, and you have different classes. You got to do different things. So
Mhm.
I don't know. At this point, I really don't know, to be honest with you. Um, I'm hoping it's not a, a Jedi game, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
want it to be a little bit different. I do want it to be maybe like you're a smuggler, or you can,
Would
or
you like
maybe.
it to be a shooter or
I don't want it to be a shooter either. I mean,
okay?
it can be a shooter. Those can be the mechanics of the game, you know. But I would want it to be more so. If I was to be a Jedi, or something of that nature, I can get the choice of being a Jedi or just being a smuggler or whatever, and using the lightsaber here and there because I have some lightsaber training. Like I just want it to be very open, if that makes any sense. Still have some kind of narrative to it or whatever.
You know,
Um,
it feels like shooter mechanics are kind of a shoe-in though, given the studio, making it. I mean,
yeah,
they make shooters. So I would put money down on that probably that it is going to have some kind of shooter element to it. But there's a lot they could do with that though. You could be like maybe a fucking stormtrooper, a special agent stormtrooper of some sort, that is on some kind of specific mission on a certain planet or something like that, they could there's a lot of creativity they could do in there. You could be a bounty hunter, you could be some sort of rebel, person who's trying to get some kind of information on the empire or something like that. So there's a lot they could do with the premise. I feel like that doesn't even have to involve the Jedi at all. Like literally we don't need Jedi in this game. I've had enough Jedi. It, like
I just don't. As much as we say that, I just don't feel like they're gonna stray away from it.
I know
Even like
they're not going to be able to help themselves.
yeah, even like the Mandalorian, like they had to include a Jedi in it, and
Mhm.
as much as I love the inclusion of what they were doing, it's just I was kind of blown back. I'm like, this is cool, but then I sat back and thought about. I was like, do we have to
Of
connect?
course.
Yeah, like yeah, do we have to connect it? So I mean,
Right.
I think yeah, maybe they will do some kind of. It will be very fucking cool if they do something like maybe you're just a regular mercenary and you do missions for both the rebels and the empire, and they just don't
Mm,
include the fucking
that'd be cool.
yeah, like they just don't include the fucking whatchamacallit at all. The Jedi or the Sith at all. It's just the empire and the rebels and stuff like that. So I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they'll do that. I can see that because I can see you building a live service around that. Like you have a reason to go fight the the rebels, and then you have a reason to go fight the bosses on the Empire side. You got to take down the AT or whatever with your squad of four or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. They can. It's like you said. It's a lot they can do. So I'm very curious. I'm just glad fucking EA is out of it. I would take. This is how desperate I
Yeah.
am. I would take even Ubisoft taking a
Well,
shot at the game instead of fucking EA at this
okay.
point.
So that's the bigger news to come out of this announcement, right? Is that EA had a 10-year deal with Disney on making exclusive Star Wars games, and that clearly is not. Oh, I guess it is over. It's not over now, but these games aren't going to come out probably until that deal is expired. Because I believe it expires next year. Or actually, I think it was 2 years from now, something like that. So I would assume most of these games aren't going to be out until the deal's expired. But
Mm.
they did say, so there is a quote from Disney about their relationship with EA. Quote, EA has been and will continue to be a very strategic and important partner for us now and going forward. But we did feel like there's room for others. And this was they're talking to Wired here. So, and Wired's actually the one who broke this story. Um yeah, it's this is great to me. I think it's obviously about time. EA hasn't done very much with this license. They've only made 4 games total with the license in a 9-year period, which is severely disappointing.
Yeah.
And also the games they did make were pretty much, I mean, it was 2 Battlefront games. The first one was okay. I don't think people were super annoyed with it, but it wasn't like didn't feel like a complete game
Yeah.
because I don't think it had a campaign or anything like that. And then the second one was a huge, massive controversy with the way it handled loot boxes and microtransactions in that game.
Yep.
And then you had, Jedi Fallen Order, of course, which is, good output, but that came from a studio that it's kind of unexpected that they would be making a Star Wars game, and the fact that they made one that was actually good, you know. And then there was Squadrons, which came out this past year, which people have liked a lot, but it's not a huge game. It's, kind of a niche game. So, given that, that's really disappointing output for a company that has BioWare, who made KOTOR games, and and they made a fucking Star Wars MMO too, actually. That they did nothing with that studio with these Star Wars games, and then the games they did make were either designed to make money or largely not super robust. I'd say Fallen Order is really the only one that met any amount of expectations, I'd say, for what we wanted out of this
Yeah.
kind of partnership. So
Squadrons. I haven't played it, but that game has been received very well. So we can't count
yeah,
that game
but
out.
it's not a huge game though, is what I'm saying. It's not like it's also not a game that appeals to everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It appeals to a much smaller audience than something like Fallen Order. I'm not discounting the game. It's great. I'm glad that game exists. Actually, I'm really happy that game exists because we need small games like that being used with the Star Wars IP. I don't think every game that's a Star Wars game needs to be a fucking 10 million copy seller. Like, we can't have those expectations for these games, or we're just going to end up in situations where EA fucking makes shitty Battlefront games and tries to milk the shit out of them, Like, so that's, so I'm
But
glad Squadrons was made.
well, I'm glad that the whole direction of the franchise in general is going in a different direction. I feel like a lot of people, especially with the Mandalorian coming out and things of that nature, um, a lot of studios and people who want creatives in general, rather, have a lot more leeway to convince Disney to, like, hey, let's do something besides the Skywalkers, because we can't stay in that era forever. And I feel like
Right.
the next couple of games either are going to be in the past, like way in the past, the KOTOR era,
Well,
or
there's pretty substantial rumors. There's definitely a KOTOR game being made by somebody. We don't know who it is.
yeah,
So
and I'm skeptical on that. I mean, I'm pretty sure they are making it, and I don't know if it's going to be a remake or if it's going to be an actual KOTOR
like new
continuation,
game.
or
Yeah.
yeah, something of that nature. So that's why I didn't really talk about it, because I'm like, I don't know what it's going to be. And then it's not BioWare, so I'm really iffy on it. But
Right.
if they can get somebody else just as good as BioWare, then fuck it. I don't go ahead. But I don't know. I think I'm pretty positive for the future for video games, rather, because I feel like now Disney is open to they can approve a lot more stories and things of that nature, because they saw the success of like the Mandalorian, how that just did not revolve around anybody dealing with the Skywalkers until very
Right.
end. You know what I'm saying? So, um, I'm very happy for this downfall. This is so bad. It's like a hater, but like I'm very happy for the downfall of the Star Wars franchise, because now it can build itself back up, because it was at its peak when it got bought,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it kind of had to tear itself down to build itself back up. So we'll
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, and I think in terms of potential here, I mean, the fact that they're kind of democratizing who they do business with here. I mean, they've learned this from their own studios in Marvel, the way Marvel's handled their games.
Yeah.
And to me, like, I think they could go to somebody like Sony and be like, make us a game, make us like a third person action game, story based action game, and because they've already proven it with Spider-Man, like
Mm-hmm.
it's an IP that they have, so it's I don't know. There's a lot of potential there, obviously, and then even with Microsoft, like Microsoft has a lot of studios too. Like that KOTOR game could be being made by Bethesda. God forbid, I know, but like there's possibility there, or even Obsidian though too could be doing something like that. Like they could totally handle something like
I
that, I
didn't think
think.
about that. Yeah, they could do
So
something like
there's a
that.
lot of potential here with this IP. I'm just happy that the exclusivity is done.
Yeah.
That shit is the worst. I hate it in everything. I don't know why companies exclusively lend their IP out to fucking anyone. I don't understand that at all. It doesn't
It
make any
must be
sense
some
to me.
kind of like money thing that we're not seeing. But to
Yeah.
me, on paper, like just looking at it, it doesn't make any sense. Like if I was NFL, right, why would I
Mhm.
limit my license to
Right.
just EA? Why not
Mhm.
have double revenue streams coming in from 2K and EA or 2K or whoever?
Yeah.
Like how fucking NBA has it. Like they have their license
Yeah.
open, you
Maybe
know?
it's a laziness thing. They don't want to maintain relationships with multiple partners. Maybe that's what it is. It's just like literally a thing like, "Oh, it's fucking video games, whatever." Like we don't we don't need to deal with 15 companies making
But
games for us,
this
but
is
it's like
why
uh,
boomers need to like just
yeah.
get out of there because if you look at the money, the video game industry is making way more money than almost any other industry combined.
It's bigger than it. I think it is literally the biggest entertainment industry in the world now. Like in pure, um, pure money making. Like how much money it makes per year. I'm pretty sure it's bigger than. It's definitely bigger than movies. I'm pretty sure it's bigger than television. I think it's even bigger than sports. Like any individual sport pretty much. So yeah, I don't understand why like if they are thinking that like what I said like oh it's video games, it's like the fuck are you talking about? Like like we're video games are bigger than what you're doing with your fucking movies, dude. Like, it's
I
so
think it's still boomers in place, or
yeah,
maybe Gen X people, or whatever. Don't not to get
right.
ages, but like I think they're just still people who don't understand the nuance of our entertainment now. Like they still think people. I mean, look how long it took for people to just adjust to fucking streaming. Like
Yeah.
we still have cable companies out there, so it's like
Well,
I don't
that's
know.
why this is encouraging though, because this seems to be being led by Lucasfilm. And they were always the one partnering with video game companies and making their own games too, actually.
Exactly, yeah,
Over the years, they understood the potential of Star Wars with video games. So the fact that they seem to be at the helm of this now is a really, really good sign for the future. And
yeah,
to me, I think we could end up getting some really fucking good games out of this.
yep,
So I'm excited for the future of Star Wars, at least in the video game space. And yeah, we'll see what comes of it, I guess. So, okay, let's move on. Our next story is Microsoft. Last week, they made a really unforced error. So, this is coming from The Verge. They decided to double the price of Xbox Live. This happened. This happened like I think it's like a week and a half ago or so. They announced one day they were just doubling the price of Xbox Live. They were restructuring the pricing model. So they were getting rid of the yearly subscription to Xbox Live for $60, and they weren't replacing it with anything. They were basically taking that $60 price and putting it on the 6-month subscription
yeah,
for Xbox Live, which was ostensibly doubling the price of Xbox Live, like straight up, like literally that's what it was doing. And then the other tiers were just as high as they had always been, and they were never a good deal, really. So, um, what happened though was there was huge backlash to this, like absolutely massive backlash that happened to this. And within the same day, Microsoft backtracked on this decision and went back to the old pricing model. And then they said that uh games with gold would be free. Um Actually, hold on. Let's read their statement. I guess we got a quote here. So, quote, "We messed up today, and you were right to let us know. Connecting and playing with friends is a vital part of gaming, and we failed to meet the expectations of players who count on it every day. As a result, we've decided not to change Xbox Live Gold pricing. We're turning this moment into an opportunity to bring Xbox Live more in line with how we see the player at the center of their experience. For free-to-play games, you will no longer need an Xbox Live Gold membership to play those games on Xbox. We are working hard to deliver this change as soon as possible in the coming months. If you are an Xbox Live Gold member already, you stay at your current price for renewal. New and existing members can continue to enjoy Xbox Live Gold for the same prices they pay today. In the US, $9.99 for a month, $24.99 for 3 months, $39.99 for 6 months, and $59.99 for 12 months. That's what it was. It wasn't games with gold. It was the fact that free-to-play games will no longer require Xbox Live Gold in order to play them, which is actually a really nice thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, if all you play is Apex Legends or whatever other free-to-play game, Fortnite or whatever, this is actually a really nice change to me. So how do you feel they handled this? Do you think this was a planned thing that they were like?
I was just about to say that. So
okay,
I don't think it was a planned thing, but I did see conspiracies like, oh, this is all planned and blah 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 blah. I think what happened was, this is what I personally think. I think just before I even get to that part, I think this was like the most shittiest deal I've ever seen that Xbox pulled. Like
that they tried to pull this.
Yeah, like this was like Nintendo level disconnect. Like it was severely, and it was almost. You know what? I saw people mention this too. It was almost like Sony. I feel like Sony, if Sony would have did this, and a lot of people were actually mentioning this shit. Like people would be like, "Okay, cool, Sony, thanks." Shove it out of our ass. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Keep giving us those good games, though. And it's like, for this, I feel like it was just so weird because they've been on a good run for the last 3 years, as far as like building.
It came out of nowhere too, dude. There was no inkling that this was happening, and then all of a sudden, here we are. Like
exactly. So this is my theory. I think some executives or whatever came to Phil, right, and was like, "Yo, we're making really good money with this Xbox Live and this Xbox Game Pass, but I think we can do more. I think we can squeeze out a little bit more. How about we get rid of the 12-month model and we replace that? We put that in place with a 6-month model." I think Phil Spencer fought them tooth and nail for this. He's like, "No, this is stupid. Why would we do that? We've been doing this for 7 years since the fucking Xbox One got launched to get customers back in our playbook. We finally got them to a point where they are considering buying Xbox Series X over the PlayStation. Like some people were actually considering that.
Yeah.
Why the hell would we do this?" And I think he fought him, and then he was just like, "You know what? I'm gonna do it. You're right. Let's go. Let's go ahead and do it."
And then he was like, "I told you so."
Exactly. It was a big "I told you so" moment because they saw the backlash, and they probably had subscriber numbers go down exponentially. They're probably never going to release this, but they probably had subscriber numbers go down instantly because you can cancel your Xbox Live instantly. You don't have to have it anymore. Even if you paid for it, you can just cancel it.
Right. Yeah, and you can keep it through the end of whatever you paid for, right?
Exactly. So they probably saw that people were like unsubscribing or taking their credit cards offline and things of that nature, and or people were probably calling and things of that nature. And the executive saw it and was like, "Okay, just go back to the yearly model, bro. You're right." And he just,
I think, sorry,
I think Phil Spencer, and he probably was like, "Well, we got to do something," and they probably just let the free to play games. I think that was coming in the works already down the pipeline, the free to play thing. I think that was.
It's just weird if that's true, though. Why wouldn't you like that? Might have been the way to do this. Like announce that along with the changes, and maybe that softens the blow a little bit. Like you don't need Xbox Live at all, Xbox Live Gold, if you play free to play games. But we're increasing the price if you do. Want to pay for games. I just think, to me, this felt like a really overt attempt by them to push people to Game Pass. Those like bundles they have with Gold and Game Pass together.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it felt like to me.
I just didn't feel like it was a worthwhile investment, in my opinion. Like I'm the type of person where it's like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I'm the type of person where it's like, yeah, I like the idea of Game Pass, but I'm not going to subscribe to it. but there are people out there who would subscribe to it. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who just like, yeah, I don't. Game Pass is really cool, but I don't want that. I just want Xbox Live. I just want to jump on, play my games, and then go. Like that's
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you
Right.
can
No,
finish
and
your thought.
I think that was I don't know. I think it's a combination of things. Probably they wanted to make more money, of course, but
Yeah,
I do
yeah,
think they want to push people to Game Pass too, because that is like their whole strategy, and this just seems like this seems weird though. I feel like your speculation is probably not far off from the truth, because I really doubt Phil Spencer was the one who was like, yeah, let's just double the price of Xbox Live Gold. Let's just do that. Yeah, everyone's going to be fucking fine with it. Like I sincerely doubt that. So that it feels like a really out of touch decision given everything they've done, for the last few years, to suddenly just do this all of a sudden. It's like you said, it feels like a Nintendo move, but you know what the irony of that is that even Nintendo knows that their fucking service, their online service ain't worth shit. It's $25 for a year. Like they know that. Nintendo knows that. They don't even fucking overcharge for their shit. So I don't know. This was a weird story. It was very funny to be on social media when this was happening, because I was like, huh? What do they do? Like, what? Why are you doing this? The idea of paying for this at all feels like a scam to me at this point, anyways. And you're gonna
yeah,
double the price? Like,
yeah.
what?
I saw some people defending it, and I was just like, "Hey, man, do you?" I didn't understand it, and I thought maybe because I don't really understand the pricing model behind Xbox Game Pass, so
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it. To me, it's just the most confusing thing. I'm like, you get games. I mean, you get the $15. You pay for $1. That's the buy-in for the month, and then it's
Mhm.
$15 right after that. That's the whole thing, right?
I think it's still $10 a month.
Oh, it's still $10 a month. Okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand like the whole. So it's $10 a month. So it's $20 if you have Gold and
Gold
Game Pass.
bundled in, right?
Okay, that's the only part I was getting confused about. Because what's the ultimate Game Pass then? Is that like Gold and that's just Gold and
Well,
Game
so
Pass?
that because remember, they have Game Pass for console and then they have Game Pass for PC. They're two different things.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
Game
okay.
Pass Ultimate, I believe, is both of those together.
Oh, okay.
So
That makes
you
more
can have
sense.
both of them at the same time. So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're losing money on Game Pass, even though they're making a shitload of money on it too. Like they're still losing money on it for sure. Even with as many subscribers as they have, like the deals they have to make to get these games on the service are probably not cheap.
Yeah.
So it's I think that's what they still just want to drive more people to it, because when the volume gets high enough, eventually they will get enough of a return that they're making money on it.
Well, I
And then it
think they should
becomes
just bundle, like, get rid of Gold at all. Like, just say, hey, when you buy online service, you get Game
yeah.
Pass, and just
Well, that's what
charge.
I thought originally when I read this. That's what I thought this was. I thought they were getting rid of gold, and then Game Pass was gold.
Yeah, that's what I
And
thought too.
you get both, and it was $120 a year, and I was like, oh, okay, that's actually that's actually a pretty good deal. You
Yeah,
know, but that's not what it was at all, and I think that's probably what they should have done if they were going to try something like this. They need to probably do something like that. Is bundle Game Pass into it, and even though people will still be upset because, like you said, a lot of people don't want Game Pass. They just want gold. It'd be really annoying to have to pay for both when you don't want both. It's like almost like cable. The way cable is.
yeah.
But at the same time, though, I like it. I feel like it would work for them.
Yeah, I would definitely take advantage of it. Like I'm like, okay, well, I get this Game Pass and I get to play maybe a game that was on my radar, but I didn't feel like spending $60 on it, so I could use my Game Pass subscription. So I
Right.
definitely see the advantages of having that, all in one instead of just having Gold and Game Pass. And I would have
Yep.
been actually okay with it. Maybe not $120, maybe $99, maybe $100 a month. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, $100 a year rather than $120. But I still think that would have been a better blow than what was
Mm-hmm.
delivered last
Yeah.
week or 2 weeks ago, rather.
Right.
So
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to our next story. This is from Tom's Hardware. So we've had shortages of the consoles. They're very hard to find, particularly the PlayStation 5. Very difficult to get your hands on one. We have listeners of this show that are still trying to get one, and we feel for you guys. Really, I do. This shit sucks. However, it's starting to sound like this is not going to get better anytime soon, because AMD, who are the chip manufacturer that make the GPUs and CPUs that are in both consoles, released their fourth quarter results, and they talked about the supply issues with their chips, not just related to the consoles, but in general. They're having chip shortages in general. But their CEO, Lisa Su, said that she is expecting to see, quote, tightness throughout the first half of 2021 in terms of producing chips. And they said that the low end of the PC market and consoles are going to be impacted the most by their shortages, because they want to sell their higher margin products, obviously, to make the most money out of what they make. So what that means is consoles are getting deprioritized in their production pipeline for now until they can catch up with the demand of their other products. So that doesn't mean they're not going to be making the stuff for consoles. It's just they're going to be making not as much as, Sony or Microsoft would probably like. And yeah, I mean, Montreal, how do you feel about this? Because to me, basically what this means is, especially for PlayStation 5, I don't think you're going to be able to get one of these readily, like easily, until the very end of the year at best at this point. And even then you're going to be dealing with the holiday rush probably. So it's not looking good right now. Like,
I
this
mean,
is
we're
sucks.
both in the corporate IT sector of stuff. So I thought about it more after our initial conversation of this. And I mean, AMD does make chips for laptops. So I think that's where their core business is at. Like, they're making laptops for Lenovo, for Dell, and the chipset rather.
Well, they also make high-end CPUs and GPUs for gaming too.
Yeah, I just don't feel like that's a huge. No disrespect to
It's
PC
not
gamers.
a huge market.
I don't think it's a huge market. I think it's those laptops and those, the laptops in the corporate desktops and everything in the corporate environments. That's where I think the bulk of their money is coming from. I don't think it's like so because I mean, if you were to read this right and you're a PC gamer, you're like, haha, see, I told you guys. Like, no, it's not for you either, bro. Like, this is purely for like regular laptops and work laptops and work desktop computers, because I mean, I work with them all the time. I see AMD and I see
there are high
Intel.
margins there.
Yeah,
because they're selling laptops that are probably worth like, I don't know, $500 for like $1,500.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
And businesses buy that shit, man.
Yeah,
in
bulk,
like
in bulk,
in
man.
bulk. Yeah, exactly. So there's money to be made there. Like these PC manufacturers, at least, or laptop manufacturers.
Especially now with the pandemic, there are a ton of laptops that are on back order. I mean, I know because I'm working for some people, and yeah, I mean, there's just every week we're getting like 250 laptops. We need more laptops. We need more laptops.
Holy shit, dude!
So it's like, it's crazy. And so I can only imagine what like other corporate entities and government entities are ordering and stuff like that, because a lot of people have to migrate over to being mobile or being remote and things of that nature. So I think that's where the bulk of their things is coming from. So I'm not as mad about it, but I still think they're leaving a huge chunk of the market out to just dry. Like, that's a huge chunk, because we just talked about it earlier. Like, video games makes a lot of money. So I mean, whatever floats their boat, but it is pretty sad. I feel pretty bad for people who don't have an Xbox Series X or PS5 right now.
Right. I mean, it particularly sucks for Sony, I would say. Microsoft, obviously, I mean, they're a multifaceted company that, they're huge. They make like, they're not, like, we've talked about this before. They're not making their money on Xbox, so this isn't as big of a deal to them. But Sony, like, the PS5 is kind of like their biggest thing at this point, and the idea that they're relying on a third party who is not necessarily able to meet the demand of what they like could sell is gotta be so fucking frustrating for them, because dude, the demand for the PS5 is crazy. Like, if they if they release 2 million of these things, they'd all sell out. I think that's where we're at right now. I think there are a ton of people that want this, and it's a really unfortunate reality that like they're not going to be able to meet demand for quite a while on this. Like this is worse than the Wii, because the Wii was like, it feels like the Wii to me was intentional. Like Nintendo did that on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
to intentionally spike demand. Sony doesn't really do that though. I think if they could meet demand, they would. I don't think they have a problem with that. So it's just like, I don't know. It's got, because it is a dangerous situation for them, because if they can't meet demand in the long term, they could end up in a situation where people move on. They either don't buy the console at all, or they even potentially go buy a competitor's device, like a Switch or an Xbox Series X or something, because if those are available and a PS5 isn't, at a certain point, people are going to get impatient, right? Like a lot of the games that you'd want to play on PS5 are going to be playable on the Series X.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the exclusives that Sony has, but there aren't enough of those that it could, for somebody who's a mainstream gamer, they might not care. They might just be like, fuck it, I want to play next gen, anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll go to the competitor that actually has stock. And I do think the Xbox will have stock sooner than PS5, because I don't think the demand is quite as high as it is for the PlayStation 5. So it's kind of a tough situation to be in, because it's not really Sony's fault. Like there's nothing they can do about it. Like they can't like go to Intel and be like, hey Intel, make us chips. It just doesn't work that way. Because the chip is made a very specific way with AMD. Like the way like they designed the console with this chip that AMD makes. So they can't just swap it out to a different part. It doesn't work that way. So they're pretty much relying on this production stream, and if that is not readily available to them, then they're just kind of sitting waiting, until it is. So yeah, it's unfortunate news. It definitely is unfortunate news, and I really feel for people like you said that don't have the consoles yet, because man, I know that life of like F5ing web pages, like fucking watching Twitter feeds, like Wario64's Twitter feed all day, fucking trying to get your hands on something. Like it's not really fun.
Yeah.
It's like all consuming in a really negative way. And yeah, I hope you guys get lucky and find one soon. So, yeah, you have any other thoughts on this, Montreal?
Nope.
All right, let's move on. All right, this one, the next story. This is from Kotaku. We all called this. Everybody called
this.
I'm giving credit to everyone, because so Google has shut down their internal Stadia studios, changing their business focus to third-party partners that they can add to the service. So they had their own internal studios that were making games that were going to be exclusive to Stadia, and those have been shut down. So this is not surprising in the slightest, right? I mean, like I said, pretty much everybody predicted this. I mean, Montreal, do you want to go a step further here and just say, I mean, in another year, do you think Google will be announcing that they're shutting down Stadia entirely?
I give it a year and a half.
Yeah,
I would give it a year and a half. I can't see it making it past 20. You know what? Yeah, next year. Fuck it. I can't see it making past 2021 or 2022. If it goes into 2023, it's going to be shut down like quarter one. In March when quarter one starts for that new business year. We don't have the infrastructure. It's such a good idea. Like I like the idea of it. I really do. Like I can play my games on the go. We just don't have the infrastructure. I'm sorry, Google. Like, and then Google themselves don't really stick out with shit. Like, look at the Google glasses. Because now, if I had Google glasses now, that shit, we were talking about that like a couple months ago. Like, oh my God. Like, if I had Google glasses.
I wish. Oh, I wish.
I could get so much shit done. Like,
dude,
it's crazy.
It's I mean, there's so many red flags here that it feels obvious at this point that this is just going to end in them shutting it down. I don't I don't see the appeal here. Nobody seems to care about it. Their business model's fucking weird. It still continues to be fucking weird, and I don't really see the appeal. Like, Xbox is already doing this better than they are, and I feel like they're way more positioned to succeed with cloud gaming because it's a part of Game Pass. So, like, what does Google have to offer? And if they're not going to have any exclusive games that are like kick-ass games, what is going to draw people to the service? I feel like this is them waving the white flag. Like, we are out of this. We're gonna keep trying, but we'll see how long that goes. So to me, I'm totally with you. I think a calendar year from right now is like, we could have the same story, just talking about Stadia, their Stadia division in general. So, because they had like 150 developers, they just kind of let a lot of them go, and it's got to be frustrating for those people to have been working on games that just got shut down. For something that potentially was pretty exciting, but it's like you said, like, this is exciting tech. This could be really cool, but it seems like Google's like half-assing it, and they have been the whole time, and I don't know why they do things like this. They're such a weird company, like they get these ideas and then they publicly release them, and then they just fucking abandon it. It's a very strange thing with them, but it is what it is. So
yep, it
I
is.
don't know. We'll see. We'll see if Xbox can make this kind of stick, cloud gaming, but I doubt it. Like you said, the infrastructure in the United States is just not where it needs to be for this stuff.
Yeah.
It's still hard to get, high speed internet in certain areas, and you're still locked to specific providers sometimes, and not every provider is created equal. So
yeah, like that's been my biggest struggle, like trying to move and stuff. I found like a couple of good places. Then they tell me like, "Hey, but we gotta lock into AT&T fiber," and I'm like, "Oh,
God, oh God!" And
yeah,
you're like, "Oh,
yeah."
yeah." I'm gonna go look elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
they,
a deal
a lot of
breaker.
people don't understand. Like, this is a good deal or whatever. Like, the rent is. I mean, I would just to I would do that if it just wasn't so bad. I'm really turned off because I used to work for AT&T, so I'm really turned off
Right.
automatically by them.
Their internal workings,
Yeah,
like how they operate. So
exactly.
you have special insight into how they
Yeah,
are.
so I don't know. So that's how I know so much about our infrastructure, because we are not there, and companies are not. They are just absolutely not willing to invest. It's like very slow moving. It's like if you live in the middle of nowhere, like you have 2 acres or 3 acres of land and shit like that, you're not getting your internet because it's just not worth it to them. In their eyes, it's not worth it to them. So,
Right.
Unless some other major market switches gears, like maybe the market kind of shift towards like China or Japan being the major money maker, or Europe somewhere where they do have like a really good infrastructure internet. Unfortunately, the streaming thing won't happen for a while for us in the United States. So I apologize, everybody. That's why I'm so negative about it.
Amen. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's move on. Speaking of China, we got some more Tencent news for everybody. Oh yeah, our favorite publisher buying up more companies. Here we go. So they have they've purchased a minority stake in Don't Nod, but I think it was like 22.5% or something like that. They bought a minor stake in minor. I say minor. It's almost like a quarter of the company's ownership. But so they've raised $40 million from Tencent, and they are pushing to become a publisher of a self-publishing studio, so they don't have to rely on third-party publishers like Square or others that they've worked with in the past. These are the guys who made Life is Strange, the Life is Strange games. So
Okay.
it is an interesting investment from Tencent, but they've also invested in another company. They are called Klei Entertainment, so that's KLEI. They have made they made the game Don't Starve Together, which, oh god, isn't that that like 2D isometric game that's like kind of like a survival game? Is that the one
I have never
I'm
heard of
thinking
that
of?
game.
I'm
Yeah.
I think that's correct. So, they actually purchased this company outright. And they obviously assured everybody that they're going to be fully autonomous and have complete creative control, blah 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 blah, which is why they picked Tencent as a partner. But yeah, so Tencent continues to buy some stuff up. I would imagine Don't Nod probably, if they do well with their self-publishing, probably will be acquired in a more majority stake kind of way in the future at some point, I would imagine. So, I mean, these are kind of random, but we just want you all to know what Tencent's what moves they're making. Okay, they're continuing to buy shit up, and that should make you all uncomfortable. Montreal, are you uncomfortable right now?
Yes. Very. I don't understand why no one's talking about this. I just
Well, it's just the randomness of it too. These are two really random studios to
it,
invest in, dude. This
it
isn't
just
like Riot and Epic, like this is. I mean, these are
it's still
small
scary.
potatoes.
It's still
Yeah.
scary though. Like I feel like
Well,
they're
that's why it's weird.
yeah.
That's why it's scary to me because it is weird. It doesn't really make sense. Like, why these guys?
Because
Like
they're
I don't
trying to
know.
get that niche market too. I just think they want
Yeah,
everybody. As long as they have
yeah,
as much hands as they can do whatever they want to. And they got the money, they got the revenue, so they can just do it.
right. So yeah, I mean, there's not much to say here other than that. Like, I mean, they've acquired Clay and a minority stake in Don't Nod, but we will let you guys know if they make any more moves, which I'm sure they will. They always try. So, all right, let's move on. This is actually a big story. This is from Polygon. EA announced today, day of recording, that they are making a new EA Sports college football game. Now, they did say that it won't have real players. So it's just a college football game. So I'm assuming it's going to have the schools and their kind of iconography and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it says there will be more than 100 institutions featuring the logos, stadiums, uniforms, game day traditions, and more that fans have come to know and love. So no athlete representation here, which is actually makes sense. So we reported on, last year
Yeah,
that
that
the
was last year.
NCAA had what? Say that again.
I said that was last year. I was thinking about when it
Yeah,
was. It was last year.
it was early last year. The NCAA changed their rules about how players can not earn anything from their likeness. They completely 180'd on that and are allowing players to earn money on their likeness based off of their athletic success.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about that is, I think this is the reason why there won't be any players in this game is because there's no unifying body amongst these players yet that represents all of them.
Yeah.
So that means that EA would have to individually negotiate with every single player they want in the game. And that is thousands of players. And that is cumbersome at best, extremely expensive at worst, and not worth their time, probably, which is why there won't be any players in this. I could see down the road eventually that changes. They probably will negotiate with specific players that they think could enhance the game's sellability. I just made a word up there.
I think yeah, I think that
But
can be
yeah,
realistic. Like I don't know, I feel like this whole thing with the NCAA is kind of new. I feel like maybe a union will be formed probably in the
it's
next coming
possible.
if you're a
Yeah,
really good player, your rates are really good, whatever the union, you know, criteria is to get into that, then that union will represent you as far as like EA coming. So maybe not this NCAA game or college football game, but like maybe in the next couple of years if this continues and sells well, which it probably will. Then we can start getting actual players in there. Maybe
yeah,
not all of them, but like the major hitters and things of that nature that are doing really well, or whatever the case may be.
yeah.
Um, I'm actually excited for it because a lot of people were excited for it. I like college football. I know you're not really a big fan of it. I don't think. I think you told me you're not a big fan of college football.
I'm not.
But I'm a big fan of college football. Uh, um, so I'm very excited for it. But other reason I'm excited for is because NCAA always introduce really new mechanics, and their systems are always really tight. compared to Madden for some reason. I have no idea why. And I think it's just because that team was probably smaller and had something to prove, maybe
Yeah.
compared to Madden.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably didn't have that license over their heads. Now, when I say that, it's hard to explain. Like, how can a license affect engines and game playability? I mean, we see it with Madden all the time. Like, Madden's nothing but a big advertising machine. So people are
Yeah.
gonna buy it regardless of the fact. Whereas with
Mm-hmm.
NCAA, it did have that revenue stream. It did have advertising in it, but it wasn't nearly as successful as Madden is. So you need something to get players to buy your game. So you need to actually invest in making a good football game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will be actually a direct competitor to Madden. I think if NCAA outsells Madden, then the Madden team, before they get fired, have to actually
Yeah.
do stuff. So that's what I'm
Well,
trying to look at it in a more positive light, but I can also
mhm.
see it turning right back into Madden. I can see that too.
Well, so that's the interesting part about this, right? Is the Madden's appeal from a microtransaction standpoint is fucking huge, right? They get away with all the bullshit they do because they have all the players' likenesses from the NFL,
Yeah.
Madden Ultimate Team only works because they have those likenesses. I don't think there will be a EA college football Ultimate Team
Yeah.
in that game because it's like, what are they going to sell? Like, there's like, what are they going to sell? Like, there's no appeal there. That's the reason that Madden Ultimate Team is appealing, because you can get a fucking Odell Beckham card, or a
Yeah,
fucking whoever,
exactly.
Patrick Mahomes card. So if you don't have that, there's no real reason for the mode to exist. Like, there's nothing to sell there. And I don't really think they'll be able to manage that. Maybe they'll try. I don't know. That'd be fucking funny to watch, actually, to see. But so that's I'm kind of with you, man. Is that I don't like college football as a viewer, but in terms of a game, like a football game, this might actually be a way for me to experience a football game that isn't Madden.
Yeah.
Um, and the idea, I don't care about the players' likenesses in college football because I don't follow it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So that automatically makes it, like, interestingly enough, that has no effect on its appeal to me. So I'm like kind of neutral, maybe slightly excited in a way, because I might check this out if it's actually good. And like you said, this was actually where the innovation was coming from with their football games, was the NCAA series. So if that continues here with this, well, then all of a sudden, I mean, what is Madden offering me that this game doesn't? Obviously the NFL, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, I can probably get an enjoyable experience out of this as a football game.
Yeah.
So that's this is an interesting announcement to me.
Yeah, because
And
that's actually a really good point that you made. Like, I didn't even think about the microtransactions, how they monetize it. They almost can't monetize it. You have to make a good football game. Like, you have to,
right, exactly.
you have
Yeah.
to. The whole,
It's going to be focused on the franchise mode, like,
yeah.
or the equivalent of franchise mode. Like,
Yeah.
that's probably going to be the main thing, that in the online modes,
So yeah, so
you know.
that's in my opinion, that's when NCAA like really stood out.
Yeah.
Their my player mode was like fucking crazy because your whole goal was to build your own player because everyone has a number but and you can you go any college you want to. They had like at the time I think they had like almost 200 institutions of colleges. It was crazy. And you can just make your player. You can get your own dorm and all this other stuff. Like, it wasn't to the story mode of 2K, but I can see them doing that level of story detail with, like, the NCAA college football thing,
Mhm.
and then maybe incorporating it somehow to where you can transfer your player over to Madden or whatever. But they
Yeah.
would have to make a solid game because there wouldn't be any microtransactions in my opinion right now. Only thing
The
I
only
can
thing
see
they could sell are like jerseys for
yeah,
certain schools or something.
I was
Like,
just gonna say that,
I
or
don't know.
maybe like they do like a little mini NFL Street mode or whatever, like the play yard I think it's called on the new Madden or whatever. How you can have three
Right.
players play against each other, and you have streetwear. Like, that's what they do on in in 2K where you can create a player. He has different streetwear that he can buy. That's where like a lot of people spend their VC points on, is like just customizing the player, haircuts, different beard styles, all this stuff. Like almost everything with your player is customizable as far as like being outside of just regular NBA stuff. So I can see them doing that as far as like selling points and things of that nature. But as far as like the pure game and like Madden Ultimate Team, I don't think they can do that here. Like you said, it's just unrealistic. They're going to be forced. That team, whoever this team is, they're going to be forced to make a good college football game, and I kind of feel bad for them because the pressure is going to be on them. To be honest with you.
Yeah. The last NCAA football game was NCAA Football 14 that came out in 2013, July of 2013. So it's been quite a while. By the time this comes out, it will have been over 8 years. So since we've gotten our last one. So yeah, that's it's actually interesting. I'll be watching this with keen interest because I'm over Madden at this point. So it'll be nice to see some like their own competition, internal competition, can breed good things. So we'll see what comes of it. All right, we got a couple more stories here. We got another announcement today. Montreal, it's finally here. We've been talking about it for fucking months, man. Mass Effect Legendary Edition got a trailer and got a date. It is coming on May, was it 14th? Yes, May 14th it is coming. Are you excited?
Yes, they also have pre-order bonuses, y'all. You can actually get a helmet, like a wearable helmet. And I almost
Montreal, don't do it, man. You know it's gonna be shit quality, man.
I almost had a moment of weakness. I did. I really did.
Don't do it, man. Don't
fall. I held strong. I held strong. I was trying to convince other people to hold strong too, but they're like, no, I'm still gonna buy it. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever. Because their excuse was like they already know what to expect. It's not like you're remaking the entire game, so I understand it from that perspective. But yeah, man, I'm stoked for it. Like I saw the screenshots and stuff. Like they did a lot of shit. I thought it was just gonna be like a upscale, like upscale to 4K, and that was it. Like that was it. No, they actually changed textures around. They did some UI stuff, and it looks like they did a lot of quality of life changes to Mass Effect 1, which hopefully will make the game a lot better. Because they did say they did a lot of quality. Yeah, they did say do a lot of quality of life changes, and they even changed a little bit of the animations and stuff like that. So
yeah, that game has a lot of issues that aren't just centered on the combat that they could fix.
Yeah,
you know, realistically could actually fix. So I hope they did do some of that stuff. Yeah, to be honest with you, it's kind of funny that like Mass Effect doesn't really look that good even on PC anymore. The game, it definitely is showing its age at this point.
Yeah,
you can tell that it's a PS3 / Xbox 360 generation game. Like so to be upscaled, I actually think they could make these games look pretty gorgeous, to be honest. So I'm excited for this. I think the May 14th date is actually, I'm fucking so glad that March isn't real. Like the March date didn't end up being real, or maybe it got pushed back. Who knows? But I'm happy that it's coming in May because by that point, hopefully, like the schedule of game releases will have lightened by that point. You know, we'll be off of our Monster Hunter Rise addiction by that point.
I keep forgetting about that shit. Holy shit.
Yeah, so, given that, I think May 14th is a great date. I love it. I think it's perfect timing. It's right in time for summer for like kids and, kids going to school and stuff. So it's I think that's a really good release date. We'll see how it does. I'm sure it's going to do fucking great, but I'm excited for it as well. So
yeah,
I think I am going to play through all 3 games again, even Mass Effect 1, even though I just played it like a year ago.
Yeah, I'm still going to play through all of them. I stopped playing through it for some reason, but yeah, I stopped playing. But I think maybe that's what it was. I think it was the way the game looks. It was just, I was like, okay, I think I need to be over this.
It doesn't look good. And even control-wise, it's not super great. It's a little clunky in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it being brought up to snuff of kind of what we expect nowadays is really going to do the games a lot of justice, hopefully, and make them a lot more desirable to play.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who haven't played Mass Effect, dude. Like,
Yeah, I know.
a lot of younger people. Yeah, a lot of younger people that like, were like 8 years old when the fucking series was out. It's like that's God, we're so fucking old.
Yeah, I know, man.
But yeah. So that's I think that's really exciting.
I don't think
I think
how people understand how much this game actually had an impact on the industry. Like this game had a huge impact on the industry as far as like
yep.
storytelling, sexual orientation, and everything. Like Mass Effect and
How much
Dragon
of an
Age.
event it was too. Mass Effect 3 was a fucking event, dude. The way they do marketing now, this was one of the first games to really do that. Dude, do you remember? I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, so roll your eyes if you remember this. But you remember the fucking thing they did where they put random copies of the game out in random places, like
Oh
in the
yeah.
United States,
Yeah.
and they gave people hints of where they were, and people were literally like hiking in the middle of the wilderness trying to find copies of Mass Effect 3. It was like fucking it was such a ridiculous PR thing, but that was like that's what we did in 2012, I guess. I don't know. So, but that's kind of what it was though. This game was so hotly anticipated. Mass Effect 2 was one of the biggest games of that generation.
Yeah.
And one of the most critical darlings of that generation. Everyone that played it loved it, and for good reason. The game in a vacuum on its own is fantastic.
Yeah. Yep.
So the expectations for Mass Effect 3 were extremely high.
Yeah, I just remember, just to give y'all an idea how big Mass Effect 3 was, or how big Mass Effect in general was, I went to GameStop to buy it, because this is like you said, after Mass Effect 2 came out, it was a couple years after that, or maybe a year or two after that game came out, and there were people cosplaying.
No, it's 3 years.
It was 3 years? Okay. There were people cosplaying in line before, like, cosplaying was a super big thing like that. Like, everyone cosplays now, but, like, you had to be dedicated back then. Like, I know everyone does it now, and it's like kind of like not a niche thing anymore, but 2012, that was still a niche thing to do. And people had the full N7 costume lit up and everything when I was in line to get this game. And there was a midnight release for it, and I was in line at like 10 o'clock, and the line was wrapped around the corner. You would think the game was Halo, the way the line was it was crazy. So that's how big this game was and how much this franchise meant to a lot of people. And that's why when Andromeda came out, it was such a massive like disappointment for a lot of people because these games changed. Dragon Age and Mass Effect changed the industry on like RPGs and storytelling and things of that nature.
Well, yeah, Mass Effect set the tone for a whole generation of fucking story-based games that had these black and white morality systems. Like,
yeah,
Mass Effect's the reason that happened, dude. And to like honestly, I'd almost say to our dismay at a certain point because like those systems are not great anymore. I say that's like the one thing about these games that doesn't really hold up well. I think is the Paragon Renegade stuff. But I think in terms of those games, though, this is the series that probably did it best, anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be great. Coming on May 14th. So look forward to that, everybody. I did skip one here, Montrell. This one is more your alley. There was a Resident Evil 8 showcase event
comes out a week
video.
Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's coming on May 7th, 2021. There was a video they released. It was like 12 minutes or something like that. I actually didn't watch it because I don't care about Resident Evil. So, Montrell, though, you, I believe, did watch the video. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this? Are you excited about Resident Evil 8?
Yes, I am. After playing Resident Evil 7, like I mentioned earlier, I am really excited for Resident Evil 8. I like the direction they're taking it. It's really creepy. They have a lot of variety of enemies. I like the tall lady.
Yeah, what is she? 9'4" in her heels?
Yeah, 9'6", man. 9'6".
9'6". Yeah,
Woo,
man.
vampire lady.
Get that woman on the basketball court. What are they doing? Come on, man. You
can dunk on me any day. Any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing cosplay for her too.
Yeah.
Pretty wild, actually.
Which funny about that. So everyone's incredibly horny for this chick. Rightfully so. I mean, I understand.
She's a vampire lady. I mean,
Yeah, from day of recording, Capcom released a statement saying, "Yeah, thanks for everyone for the huge reception towards this character. She's 9'6", and everyone just went ape shit. There's like, she's actually super fucking tall. So
yeah,
yeah, everyone wants to get crushed under her heel, and all that
step on
shit.
me, blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah, which I think is super funny because now every other game company is like, "Yo, we know we got tall ladies too. Look at this tall lady."
degenerates, bro. The degenerates on the internet, the just like the step on me, mommy energy that happens around some of this stuff is just so like, oh my god, man.
I play it too because it's so funny. Sometimes I just play it
It
to
is
it.
funny. It is funny, but at the same time, I think people that don't understand would be like, "What the fuck is happening? Like, what is going on here?" But yeah,
But with that being said, I did say some comments on my Twitter about it. About this actual reveal they did. I think it was like they could have kept this shit. I was really disappointed with the reveal. I liked Resident Evil 8, but we already knew that was coming. But then they announced dumb shit. Like shit no one cares about. Resident Evil and Capcom have this weird obsession with making this game multiplayer, and no one knows where it comes from.
right. Because dude, it's never been successful, right?
Never.
Like
They
the one
had
they did for Resident Evil 3 last year, right? Like fucking cratered. Like no one plays it. No one ever played it.
they did.
Really.
Yeah, I forgot about that mode. It was like a player versus player mode, right? Where you're the
Yeah, it was like a
boss.
separate game too from
Yeah,
Resident Evil 3. It was its own thing. It
yeah.
was fucking
So no one was happy about that. I mean, well, I wasn't happy about that. And then it was the simple fact that it was free when you buy Resident Evil 8, and the beta came out, and I watched the beta, and I was just like, this looks like the gameplay in the game mode was a free for all, but it looks like a free for all for like a 2006 game. Like you remember how just chaotic free for all games were back,
yeah,
shooters
yeah, yeah.
back then. So yeah, that's what it looked like to me. And I was just like, I mean, I know I'm pretty sure they're gonna have more game modes and stuff like that, but it's just like, why? Like, why are you forcing these multiplayer games? The only good multiplayer game that everyone wants back is this multiplayer Resident Evil game called Outbreak, and it was actually you play like the regular Resident Evil was like you're playing a regular Resident Evil game, but you had 4 players and you had to navigate through the house or whatever scenario you're in. So it was like one scenario where there was like maybe a busboy, a cashier, and 2 customers trapped in a theater, and they had to use the regular Resident Evil mechanics and everything like that to navigate through the theater to do certain puzzles, fight off certain zombies and things of that nature. And that was very fun and interesting. And they just never revisited that ever again. But people want
Yeah,
that.
that's a cool concept.
Yeah. And I don't know why they keep doing these like shooters. They had Operation Raccoon, Operation whatever. And then they had another one that was like a first person.
Like, isn't the Umbrella?
Yeah, the Umbrella Chronicles.
Umbrella Corps
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
they had that one, and every shooter, every multiplayer game they have released has been complete shit. So I said, looks like Capcom is doing Capcom 2012 things, and people got mad at me. They're like, "What do you mean by this? you're just talking out the side of your ass." And it's like, no, they need to get rid of this concept of multiplayer. I think Resident Evil multiplayer is, unless it's Outbreak gameplay like that, has no place within Resident Evil at all. Just keep making good single player content, good DLC, and you will get the rewards from your work. Like you will get that, in my opinion. So, I don't know. It's just weird. They didn't really announce anything else besides that. And they did say they're still working on Resident Evil 4 remake, which I do have some news about that. The people who made Resident Evil 3, it wasn't really a third party team, but like their B team, but they're not. So it's like a platinum to like Sega deal or whatever, or they're not really owned by Sega, but they have a close relationship with them. And they made 3, and 3 wasn't really. They made the 3 remake rather. 3 wasn't really well received by people because it was short. They said it was very short. A lot of people said, and they took out certain parts. Well, it came out that that person of that team kind of whistle blew. He was like, "Yeah, Capcom said they wanted us to make those. They made those decisions because we wanted a faithful remake." So they were actually working on a Resident Evil 4 remake, which I am kind of against. I don't really want a Resident Evil 4 remake because I think that game's perfect.
Mhm.
But they are going to be put on the back burner of like as far as development, and the A team is going to take over, almost like a
Yeah,
Kingdom
so
Hearts situation.
I did find an article on this. This was from IGN. So they said that the rumor is that M2 was the
Yep,
team
M2, yep.
making it, and that they're being taken off the game because they were
Completely?
being too faithful, or their roles being reduced. Is that they were being too faithful to the original game, and Capcom wants the remake to take inspiration from Resident Evil 4, but have new elements and features. So I don't know. How does that make you feel? Like
Well, it
that's an
kind of makes sense.
yeah.
Because I was playing through Resident Evil 2 and I realized like how little one of the main antagonists of Resident Evil, his name's Wesker, has
Mhm.
in the plot. Like you hardly even hear anything about him.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're going to actually write him out. Resident Evil 4, as creepy as it is and as good as it is, it's super campy. Um, and I think they're going to write out that campiness because Resident Evil 2 really went for that dramatic American style acting and
Isn't that a mistake here though? Because I know a lot of the appeal of Resident Evil 4 is that campiness. Like a lot of people love it because it's fucking campy. Like that's part of the game's charm. That's my understanding of it.
no, you're right. Resident Evil games in general have always been campy, but really fucking creepy, and
Yeah.
they put you in a mood where you can get scared at any time. But then sometimes you read like um there wasn't really voice acting in like 1 through 3, except for like certain cutscenes. So on the original game, so like even through the text, they'll be a little bit campy and things of that nature. So I mean, that's always been the charm of the game. But with these remakes, particularly with 2 remake, 3 remake, and 7, they have been more serious. And they're trying, I guess they're trying to be taken more seriously. And I do take the game seriously. It's just sometimes it's just like too serious, if that makes any sense.
I mean, would this be similar to Devil May Cry trying to take itself more seriously? Like it's probably not on that level of
Not
like,
on that level, but yeah, if Devil May Cry kind of like cut all the jokes in half and the
well, actually
campiness,
I guess they kind of did that, didn't they, with DMC?
they did. They tried to do it with DMC, and
People didn't like it.
it's
So
it's almost on par with that. Where it's kind of forced in certain areas of the DMC game. I like the DMC games, but like I said, it was almost forced. In this game,
yeah.
it's not to the force level yet, but it's like I can see this being like a really good movie type deal. You know what I'm saying? Like I was watching it, and there was one part where like Leon had to save Ada, and it was just really dramatic, but in like an American sense way. Like I feel like I was watching an American movie instead of like this being made by Japanese developers or whatever. So I feel like
Mhm.
that's where the collab is coming in. Like they're collaborating with their American studios on like how to make it more appealing to the American audience, and I think that's what Resident Evil 4 is going to do. Leon is always known for being like super campy sometimes.
Yeah.
He's super serious at other times and then super campy at other times. That's why the charm of Resident Evil 4, like you said, and I think they're going to take that away because this version of Leon, the remake Leon, is kind of super serious. If that makes any sense, he's not really. He kind of lightens up at the end of the game, but he is a rookie in Resident Evil 2 remake, and he's super serious and scared as fuck all the time and shit like that. So I don't know.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's move on to our final news story of the day. A new game was announced called The Day Before, and it kind of looks like a cross between The Division and like a post-apocalyptic game like The Last of Us or something like that. This is being made by a company called Fantastic or Fantastic, something like that. They've developed games called The Wild 8 and The Radiant One. They released a 5-minute trailer for this game, and it actually looks pretty decent, I'd say. Montreal, you also were looking into this as well. What are your feelings on it?
Yeah, I feel like if they can continue doing the mechanics that they're doing, um, this game would be very fucking cool to play. I would love to play this game with like other people, like maybe you and Jet, and stuff like that. Because it just looks really fucking cool. It is a cross between like the Division and it's what I wanted the Division to be actually. Like,
yeah,
you know,
actually like a post-apocalyptic,
exactly,
truly, with
exactly.
like zombies and more fantastical elements.
Exactly, and I think they're going that route. So this is actually the perfect game I've been looking for because I always thought that Division element or that Division style was good. It just needed something else, and Ubisoft refuses to to go that way. Um,
Yeah.
and I think this game's actually doing it. So it is PC only. So I think that's a good thing because they don't have to worry about downscaling things or anything like that. Even though I think current gen consoles can handle it. Maybe if it does really well, they'll port it over. But for what I saw, the 5 minutes I saw, it looks fucking really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I feel the same way. I think the potential of this is actually pretty high. The concept, we'll see if this studio can execute on it. But I love the idea of a Division style MMO game with the random enemies being zombies. That is a really cool concept. The trailer they showed is very. It really was copying what Ubisoft does in like a real cringe way, where they had that like canned, player dialogue where they were talking to each other and like, "Oh man, I found a hat, dude! Oh, awesome, bro!" Like,
LOLs.
yeah, it's just like, of
LOLs.
course.
LOLs.
I was getting into goofy territory there. I'm sorry. But it was a little cringe, but what they showed of the gameplay though actually looks pretty interesting. It seems like the game is trying to at least have some sort of almost cinematic elements to it in the way the encounters happen. So we'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, it
We'll
has.
be monitoring it though.
It looks like it has the survival elements of like PUBG, and the mechanics of the Division, and like the cinematography of The Last of Us. Because like you have different, and probably like the story elements too. Because in the trailer you were fighting a faction, and then that faction had zombies come in on them while you were fighting them. So I think I just think it's really cool how if this game can turn out to be what it is, this will change the way people do things as far as like apocalyptic games and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we'll see how they do.
yeah.
All right, Montrell. That is all we got, man. We've gotten through all the news. We've caught up, everybody. We will be current now going forward. There will be no catching up to the news in the next few weeks, hopefully. So, Montrell, anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
Nope, that's it.
All right, fair enough. Let us go find some more stocks. Let's go, baby. All right, guys. If you like this episode, please like the episode, review the show, subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on, and please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01. The show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. We would love to incorporate your questions into the show. Either during the show or at the end of the show, something like that. So please send us some questions on pertinent topics, or if you want to follow up something we talked about this week, we can have a further discussion about it as well. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye.